Tonight, more on the Moreland Commission. Governor Cuomo fighting off attacks that his administration interfered with the Corruption Commission's work. Cuomo's GOP challenger, Rob Astorino, not holding back. Astorino taking shots at the governor, including calling him a crook. Could the whole Moreland meltdown create problems for the governor come this November? And we will head over to Capitol Hill, where a VA spending bill is on the line. Will House Republicans give it the green light or block the bill, as they've done in the past? We will take a look at some of the top issues facing the nation and where the Grand Old Party stands on them. They got so much to gain this fall unless they get in their own way. Plus, has President Obama lived up to the promises that he made with the speech that many say launched his national career? That was the DNC speech back in 2004. We're going to take a look back and compare reality versus the rhetoric. Good evening and welcome to RFL. I am Richard French, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. And we start with the ongoing questions about Governor Andrew Cuomo and the Anti-Corruption Commission he made disappear back in March. Now, yesterday, the governor, he spoke publicly about Moreland for the first time since that Times report concluded that he or his administration had hobbled the commission. And as the governor questioned the Times report, his likely rival this fall, Republican Rob Astorino, was continuing to question Cuomo.
Moreland Commission was a phenomenal success.
He's not making a suggestion on who not to investigate or a suggestion on pulling back subpoenas.
Someone had a conversation with you and made a suggestion, and I didn't follow the suggestion, which is a sign of independence, not dependence or interference.
If anyone's seen The Godfather, I got an offer you can't refuse. That wasn't a suggestion, that was overt threats. And that's really what the governor did. It's exactly what he did.
It generated all sorts of interest in the behavior of the legislature. It brought all sorts of cases that have actually come to fruition.
This is a Watergate in the making. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about some serious crimes that could have been committed here. Voters in New York certainly need to know whether their governor is a crook.
It was an overwhelming success. Independence is not, we'll never talk to anyone. It's that they exercise their independent judgment.
Now, yesterday, as Governor Cuomo was insisting he didn't interfere with the commission, for what it's worth, the commission members themselves, they were helping him make that case. Two Moreland members, co-chair William Fitzpatrick, a Republican, and Thomas Ugebe, a Democrat, who was elected Rockland DA on both major party lines, both released statements questioning the Times report on Cuomo's role with the Moreland Commission, both saying they sensed no interference in the commission's operation by the governor's office. And that's not all that has been changing when it comes to this story. Our friend Jimmy Vielkind, who is the Albany bureau chief for Capital New York, he's been tracing what he calls Governor Cuomo's changing interpretations of the commission, noting that Cuomo went from calling Moreland, these are his own words here, totally independent, to, quote, never having blocked any subpoenas to the governor, to I am the commission, and now to the commission was a little independent and my contact was with it was okay. Now, for more on Moreland and the political ramifications, let us bring in our panel tonight. Jonathan Yedden, Democratic consultant with the Advance Group, former executive director for the Kings County Democratic Party. Dominic Carter, political journalist and author. And Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent. We spoke about this, guys, last night. Jonathan, I'm curious from your perspective. Governor doing damage control yesterday. His own father, former Governor Cuomo, even released a statement talking about all the bona fides of his son. They don't do that unless they see that there's an issue. They would have continued the radio silence on this unless they saw that they had some problems. At the very least, with the U.S. Attorney even getting involved when Moreland magically disappeared, where does the governor's people feel their greatest potential exposure on this story might be?
Whether or not there's any type of clear-cut evidence that the governor or his senior aides interfered in the commission's dealings in order to protect political allies and specifically go after political enemies. Should something like that arise, then the governor has a serious problem. I will say that hasn't come up yet. And yeah, the governor, basically, this wasn't something that's been around New York State for quite some time. The governor started this you know, and obviously he ended it. All that
We've
information
had
is turned
Moreland
over.
commissions before.
Yeah,
But not to this degree. I guess here's my only point. Through some of the reporting and some of the research, it's clear, and Jimmy V kind of did a really nice job of it, where the evolving rationales behind the commission, and in fact even went further back, 2009, then Attorney General Andrew Cuomo, he wanted the authority to do this. And when Mr. Schneiderman, now Attorney General, wanted to do it, he said not so fast.
Right, because he wanted to be in control.
Right,
Sure.
he wanted to own this thing. Now that this thing's not going the way he wanted, depending on the day, it's, well, it was either mine or it wasn't mine or it was kind of mine. For a guy who likes things black and white, there's sure a lot of shades of gray here.
Yeah, there absolutely are. And I'm not going to sit here and defend the governor and everything that he's done, because I certainly have, you know, issues with how this all went down, particularly how it ended. It was all kind of a shock and a surprise to everybody, given, you know, sort of the strong message he gave to everybody when he first formed the committee. There are a lot of questions that need to be answered here, and I think they will come out over time. It'll be interesting to see, though, what the U.S. Attorney's Office actually produces. If they don't produce anything, then it obviously benefits the governor, because then there really was nothing here. If they do produce something, and if it's something high profile, then the governor has a serious problem. The timeline is going to be real interesting here. We have an election in November.
It strikes me, though, that there's really two potential problems for the governor. The first being, you know, if the U.S. Attorney comes up with anything that somehow makes the governor's office look
Guys
bad.
got to pass because they played ball with the governor.
Right, we'll call it the criminal angle of the whole thing. There's also the PR aspect of the whole thing, which is that Cuomo comes across as a result of this seeming like a regular New York politician, as somebody who's not above the fray, as somebody who's not above the dirty tricks. And just, you know, the sort of dirty politics
part
that New York is
swamp,
known for.
not the guy who promised to drain the swamp.
Exactly, and this is a guy who's trying to set himself apart from the pack when it comes to New York State, and he's also trying to, you know, run up the score as best he can in his re-election for hopes for 2016.
To that point, Dominic, you're now Rob Esther, and Jessica Proud, a frequent guest to this program, was going to join us tonight. She couldn't make it last minute, but I'd ask her the same question, which is, hey, I get it. He's finally getting free press here. I mean, he's getting outraised 20-1 in the campaign. He's got low name recognition outside of Westchester and maybe points south. He's got to do something. But does he run the risk of overplaying this at all? I mean, he's going with the Godfather analogy. He's going with Crook and Watergate. I know there's no harm in throwing a bomb if you're really trailing. He's losing, if you believe the polls, by between 35 and 40 points. But if there's no there and you're claiming this thing's Watergate, where do you stand?
Well, Mr. Astorino trailing 40 points, and as you pointed out, badly trailing in the money department. Richard, he really has no other option at this point. It's either attack or this race is over. And it's my contention this race was over before it even started. I don't see, as of right now, a problem for Governor Cuomo. I see, as of right now, a public relations nightmare where perhaps the governor spoke up and he shouldn't have. And until the U.S. Attorney comes back with something, as you pointed out, I don't even think the U.S. Attorney is investigating. We're talking like there's an investigation. We don't know as of right now.
And odds are it's not going to happen before November.
Okay, but forgive the cynic in me. Preet Bharara doesn't do anything unless he thinks he's going to get a headline out of it. And he got the headline when he said, but my only point is, he made an enemy in the process of doing it, which is the governor. Right?
The governor's not his boss. I mean, you know,
fair enough,
he can do whatever he wants to do.
But New York it's a big place, but it's a small place when it comes to politics, and if you want to be a Democrat, okay?
Right.
And getting on the wrong side of the Cuomos of the machine certainly is not your best way, and we all know the man on the screen certainly has political ambitions from everybody that we've spoken to. To that end, he wouldn't have taken this thing on unless he thinks there's something there, and God knows there's enough crooks in New York that he's got, that he can, close his eyes and he'll find one of them. If any of them were even being looked at by Moreland before this thing was shut down in the spring, then there's a problem.
And there definitely are reports of many politicians.
Even if the commission didn't shut it down.
Right.
It's just that, hey, wait a minute. Could this guy have been found out if Moreland was still alive? Did Moreland go away because of political expediency purposes? I think he got helped out a lot today by those commissioners coming forward saying that they stand with the governor. I think if they said something else, which the Times certainly implied that they were on the other side of this, we'd be talking about a different story.
Well, and the timing on that was a little suspect. I mean, Fitzpatrick released his statement yesterday morning just before Cuomo took the stage in Buffalo, and he relied on that heavily as he was giving his explanation.
All right, guys. We ask you at home to make your opinion heard on this. Go to Facebook and Twitter and tell us what you think. Do you think the Moreland Commission, will there be a fall? Will it affect this November election? Dominic, not so sure here. Where do you guys stand? Okay, when we come back, Sarah Palin and a growing list of other Republicans are lining up calling for the president's impeachment, all right? The question is the American public on board with this? And with Republicans seemingly with so much momentum heading into the fall, are issues like this possibly going to drag them down like we've seen so many times in recent elections? Stay with us.